Hi, this is Karen Aram. I'm here at Crystal Lake Park where Friends of the Geese are going to be holding a memorial service for the I think it was 150 geese that were slaughtered last week. So I thought I'd first get a good start on just giving an idea of what the park looks like. This is late Saturday afternoon. I say late by 5 o'clock in the evening. Now they talked about planning commission. There wasn't enough room for all the geese, 150 geese, and yet we come out here and we look at the space, the unused space. You can't tell me, and now we don't see any geese at all. So it's very questionable. And as far as the poop on the ground, you know, a lot of our volunteers were actually cleaning that up. And they said it wasn't all that difficult or time consuming. And I mean, look at the land. Lots and lots of space. I don't know how much there is, but I'm getting tired. I don't think I can walk it anymore. I mean, this is ridiculous to say that 150 geese would be too many for this area, this amount of space and land.
Thank you so much to everyone who's come. And first, just to orient to what we're here to do today, we're here to do something very specific, which is to celebrate and remember the geese who are here. There's many other things that people care about, and there's many other moments we will address those things, including if you are someone who is saying, we need to go tromp down the park district, or we need to do things, that is a time, that is a totally right action to do. You should let Susan, this has a clipboard, you can give her information, but this is a time for grief and remembrance. And there's many other things that we care about in the community right now, many other things in the world, other lives that are being lost that we care about, and this is one moment to reconnect and remember this set of lives that we also care about. So we'll start with a song and just have some time to, you know, take a minute to be, yeah, actually we're here for something quite sad. And then Susan and others will take it away. Oh, this song is a song about the birds that come and go in the different seasons, right, as the geese do. And so there's both the celebration of that life cycle and then also the grief that these birds will not be coming back next year. Across the evening sky, all the birds are leaving, but then you know it was time for them to go. Before the winter fire, I will still be dreaming. I do not count the time, for who knows where the time goes? Who knows where the time goes? Sad deserted shore, your fickle friends are leaving, but then you know it was time for them to go.
Okay, some of us have things to say, but also, if you have something to say, you're invited to come up. Where is Penny? I lost it. You want to?
Yes, I'm Penny Hanna. I'm one of the people in Friends of Geese, and we have been created by the geese, but not just the geese, by the violence visited upon the geese. And one of the things that it brings to mind, lots of things have been going through my mind for the last, I don't know how long, probably my whole life. But the idea is, I want to focus on just a few right here. And to me, violence is critical. We live in a state of mind where people have to accept aggression, violence, brutality, lying, fear, rage, outrage, and try to figure out how to handle these things. There are things within us and they're around us. And we make our adjustments sometimes, and then we also have to decide to act upon the world sometimes, because it will not change unless we do something. We can be the cause and we can be the solution, in my mind. So we can observe from childhood how people were treated indecently, unfairly, without their rights being protected. We live in a country that was created by colonization. First come the Spanish with Columbus. They come with the idea, both from the Queen Isabella of Spain and the church, that you can take whatever you find. And Columbus was going to get paid for what he took. If he brought back gold, he was going to get a cut, and he was going to become the grand governor of the lands that he discovered. So he had a deep interest. Well, we're dealing with people who have deep economic interests, and they use violence as a tool to take what they want without consent of who's there. Well, the doctrine that the Spanish church had at the time is if you discover lands, you can plant the Spanish flag and call it your own. And as a consequence, if it's uninhabited, no problem. If it's inhabited, then what do? If they're not Christians, you may kill them. So there was a conflict within the church, but no conflict with Queen or Columbus. So they considered the native people, the Taino, the Arawak, and other native indigenous people in the Caribbean area as non-Christian. Therefore, they had no souls, they were not human, they were not considered inhabitants. So what did they do? Genocide begins. That didn't end the story here, because the slavers came early, the Spanish, and then later others. And they brought their slaves. Where did they get them? They got them from Africa. They took them without any consent. They declared them non-human. We're still doing this today. We're doing it in police work. We're doing it in economic inequality. There are all kinds of ways to do violence and take from people what is their right, primarily their life, starting with their life. But it goes further. It goes with their right to speak, to have a voice in what goes on. So the beginning of this democracy here is predicated on a belief that there is a social contract. I sound like I'm lecturing, right?
No.
Okay, so one of the problems is you can interrupt me. The social contract to me, I'm just trying to narrow down my disparate thinking to some things that I think are essential. The social contract says we, the people, will accept the government over us. They can govern us. We will obey them if and only if they respect and protect us and our rights. And you can think of all the rights, anywhere from what is in our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or you can think of the Universal Declaration of Rights of the UN, which is 48 rights, way more than 10. Well, there's more than 10 in the 10 amendments anyway. But the geese had no voice. They gave no consent. Well, why do we care about the geese? The only reason is the point I'm making, if it happens to someone else, it could be these slaves. What did the slavers take? They took people's lives, they took their heritage, they took their land, and they enslaved them for life and their children's lives. It's still going on. the consequence of this kind of attitude is permeating our entire culture. Brutality is possible when you use violence as a technique to get what you want. The social contract has been broken. This has been stated by many people. Who's protecting everybody's life? Well, some people more than others. Who's protecting everybody's rights? Some people no rights. When they wrote the Constitution, they had the idea in mind. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, he refers to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. His first draft didn't write the pursuit of happiness. It wrote property. So that's what they were started out thinking. So when they wrote the Constitution, they declared landowners, white men, as having all the rights. They counted as a whole person. The rights did not apply to the Native Americans here, who were removed, just like in the Caribbean. They had zero count. They were counted as zero. The African slaves were counted as 3/5 of a person. Does it sound familiar to anybody who knows what's going on around them? 3/5 of a person, because they wanted them counted like in the census for representation in the government and to get the taxes, but they didn't want them counted. No, they wanted the taxes, but they didn't want them counted for representation, excuse me. So what I'm referring to is the past, the present, and the future. We exist in the present. We also exist in a very dangerous time because of health concerns. The COVID, again, affects people differentially. Why is that? Why are certain groups that have been deprived of their rights for centuries dying faster than the people who have ancestors who may have helped take those rights from them or keep those rights from them still in southern states and northern states? I happen to grow up in a little town just west of New York City. It's only a mile square. The sign as you enter, this is in New Jersey, obviously, across the Hudson from New York, it says, founded in 1628, site of a slave burial ground. They took the slaves from all of the New York and Hudson Valley area and buried them there. So it was obvious as a child. I said, what? So you go around and you observe things around you. You observe, you see people not given an equal chance. You see people deprived of health care, and some people just go on their merry way. Well, we decided we can march for the Geese Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Indigenous People Matter. I have been friends to Indigenous people who live in places where they're still dying. The highest death rate anywhere from COVID is on the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico, Arizona area. It's higher than any place else in America, and we're probably the highest in the world, so that's pretty bad. So we have to look at the present and see that it isn't just about geese, it's about brutality. It's about who has autocratic power, who broke the social contract, never asked anybody's consent, never protected the rights, just went upon their merry way, looking for how they could take more without paying anything. And so we're still living in that consciousness, and it is fearful consciousness. We see it every day. The COVID epidemic, pandemic, is giving some autocratic leaders, here especially, the right to put drilling rights into the Arctic Reserve, places it never should be. It's given them the right to get rid of funding for public schools and give it to charter schools. Public education, you assume that's going to exist, fully taken care of. It's giving the right to give the military power to go into the streets and gas and beat people who are protesting, which is a right. Peaceful assembly, redress of grievances. And in the case of the geese here, we have to deal with the Park District and the Illinois Department of Natural Resources that went stealthily through the process of killing the geese. While we were protesting and trying to negotiate with them to use non-lethal means to control the population, we also were going to a lawyer to file in the federal courts, because the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act, an injunction to prevent them from killing all those geese. And that would give us time to have further discussion, call the community together, have a real survey of opinion, by people speaking to them and objecting or confirming, and then see what happens. But none of that happened. At 5:30 on Monday, January 22nd, over there, they herded them up, put them in the backs of trucks, which are actually mobile gas chambers. That's where they were. So as they drive away, they can turn on the gas and kill the geese. Other people will talk about what that means. I don't want to. But that day, our lawyer was going to take to the federal court building his brief to appeal for an injunction to prevent them from killing the geese, because they had not done a truthful application to get the permit to kill the geese. They had not done all the things you have to do before the last resort of killing the geese you are entitled to do. So therefore, the geese are just another set of, well, it's a life. Can we live on this planet without plants, without animals? You eat animals, you eat plants. Can you live without the bees that pollinate the plants that fertilize the fruit? I mean, we are dependent on the natural world, and they are dependent on us. And we don't listen to their voices, just like we don't listen to the people who are not like the original founders of this colonizing groups that came to an uninhabited land. So I ask you, why not see that the environmental concerns, the rights of geese, the rights of people, are all connected to the same thing? Without this planet and our understanding of the natural processes, we could not survive. We are the apex predator. If we are not stopped from being we're the super consumers, right? Not us, but the predators who want to use violence. They're consuming things that they don't even need to consume. They kill the geese, they are not going to be used. You can't give toxic meat to poor people. That would be cute, wouldn't it? So, in any sense, I ask you to consider that environmental issues, we may be the extinct species. And when that is all done, who will come back? Probably invertebrates, nematodes, insects. Are we going in the direction we want to go? So I want to ask you, are you taking yourself and your friends and your concerns to the future you want to have? Or you are looking to the past? Let's do it like that. They said they're in power, they can take it. They can lie. They can dehumanize people and execute animals. It's no different. So, Minnesota and Wisconsin, the Anishinaabe people say thank you is McWitch. Thank you for listening.
Woo!
Mary Oliver poem.
This is a poem by Mary Oliver, Wild Geese. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repentant. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and excited, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Thank you, Mary.
I'm wondering, Linda, you want to say something?
How do I get down there?
Linda, Suzanne, if there is time,
Yeah, you might.
love the geese. They come to my house, I feed them, they camp out in my yard with their babies, their mamas, their daddies. My whole yard is filled. When I heard about this, it's hard to say what kind of feeling you feel unless you love animals, if you love God's creatures.
Yeah.
The geese, they did not bother nobody. They weren't mean, they weren't evil. Hallelujah. They were good. I say citizen because I treat animals just like people. My God, just like you treat your dog or your cat or any other animal. I mean, who would be so heartless? Oh my God. That's the song that came to me while I walked out here. Oh my God, they have killed them. You know, because I'm going like, these are God creations, the birds, the geese. You can't have a park without the animals. What's going on here?
Yeah.
What are you going to kill next? I mean, when did this end? I mean, these are loving, caring creatures. Babies, daddies, mamas. You gassed them? And then you want to feed them to people? Give the meat to somebody? That's an excuse. That's a lie. You're covering up your wrongdoing. And your wrongdoing, God sees what you've done wrong. You can cover it up all you want to, but he knows that you did wrong to those geese. This is their home.
Yeah.
You can't, how would you feel if somebody came to your home and slaughtered you, murdered you? How would you feel? I mean, you couldn't feel anything because you'd be gone. But that to me is, I want to just think of the words because it's just so lonely out here. It just seems like nobody's here.
Exactly.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Nobody's here but us.
Yeah.
I mean, this is their domain. This is their home. And for them to come and do that, and then sneaky and do it in the middle of the night while everybody sleep. If you ain't got nothing to hide, why can't you do it when people are here? Because the way you did it, brutally, that's animal abuse. I mean, you gassed them, the little bitty babies walking around. You would see them walk across the street with the mama and the daddy.
Yeah.
Heartless, heartless. Who does that? You know? Oh my God. And that's what I want to say. Oh my God. You killed the geese.
Yeah.
That's it.
Alright, so I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm very inspired and touched by all of the other people who have preceded me to talk about this issue. And I want to make sure that I don't take too much time from anyone else because I only have a few things to say. Okay, so we're often socialized and encouraged to value human life more than other animals' lives. One of the most common phrases you hear growing up in the United States is the phrase, the sanctity of human life. The assumption is that human life is exclusively and uniquely valuable. So much so that it can be described in divine and spiritual terms. We do not apply this phrase to any other species. You will never hear someone talk about the sanctity of cow's life or the sanctity of geese life. It seems harmless enough on its own because it's just giving value to human life, but it is part of a larger and more insidious pattern. We only see other animals as valuable in relation to humans. That's why we like dogs and cats, but we kill pigs and fish. The view centers humans, and it's invalid as a result. It fails to see that each individual values their own life and that each of them has an equal claim to live that life on this planet. Not only does this failure lead to a lot of unnecessary violence, like what we witnessed here just days ago, it also blunts our ability to understand the loss that comes from our violence. So today, I want to just briefly focus on the victims of this violence, the geese who died. I want to tell you the things that mattered to them. I want to tell you the experiences that they would have had we considered them valuable enough to not kill them. My hope is that by knowing the depth of these creatures, we can know why it is so wrong to regard them as merely an afterthought to our desires. So let's talk about a few of those things. Geese are very socially complex creatures. I don't know if a lot of you guys know about the flying formations of geese. I didn't know anything about them until I got involved in this issue. But they fly in that V-shaped pattern for a reason. It's because when the air resistance hits the goose at the front of that formation, it creates a blockage that makes it easier for the ones in the back to fly forward. The weaker members of their group fly toward the back because they show solidarity and care for one another. And when the goose in the front of the group gets tired, they have a communication system that allows someone else to take that position. This is the kind of mutual aid that I personally think humans in today's day and age could learn a lot about. Geese are also protective of their young, and they're known for being caring parents, friends, siblings, and mates. They play with each other a lot, and they provide aid to the injured members of their species. In previous instances where geese were rounded up and killed by the USDA, just like what happened here, park visitors noted that some of the injured geese that were left behind were tended to by some of the other members of their pack that did not get killed. Geese also have close and friendly relationships with humans. Who would have thought? In fact, Linda just recently told you about her friendship with the geese here in this park, and I'm sure many of you have had similar experiences. These geese, and this is the most important note that I want to end on, these geese, the ones that were here, are descended from migratory Canada geese, but they are resident Canada geese. There's a reason for that. The reason for that is because humans had destroyed so many of their habitats and hunted these geese so close to extinction by the mid-20th century that they were nearly gone from the face of the earth. If not for the intervention of a few individual humans during the mid-20th century to repopulate them, there wouldn't be any Canada geese left. And despite that, despite the violence that they endured and the endangerment that they came into contact with, they still persist today. So I think there's a message in that. I'm inspired by the Canada geese's story. It gives me hope that no matter how dire things may seem, care, aid, and strength can always intervene to set us back on a path of hope. Let's not forget the dire violence that was enacted by the Urbana Park District, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the very aptly named Illinois Department of Natural Resources. But let's also not forget that in the face of their violence, it is the care, aid, and strength that we have that gives us hope to create a more peaceful and livable and free planet for everyone. Thank you, guys.
Victoria. Victoria. You want him? And then after Victoria.
Oh, that's okay.
It's going to be really hard.
So, my message is that we don't want this to happen again, ever. In our community is better than this.
Yes.
I was appalled that we could not get the kind of support from an institution so that we could go forward and take these geese to a place of sanctuary in southern Illinois, where they would have had a life and they would have been able, probably would have stayed. It was 95,000 acres. I mean, that's a big place. No agriculture around so much, wetlands. they would have been welcome. No people, no recreation. So that was a big blow that we found someplace and IDNR said no. They're stuck in their ways. They don't see outside their box. This is such an institutional mindset. But what I want to say is, what can we do to prevent this in the future? And so when I was researching about the geese, I found a very interesting group of people down in St. Louis called Geese. And I looked into them and found an ally. The president, who's been with that organization for 19 years and worked with the geese in St. Louis and that whole huge metropolitan area and also in the suburban areas around. And they have gotten a group of people together that have been trained how to do the things that need to happen. Yes, to control the population, but also to do it in a humane way. So what they do is they boil the eggs. They seek them out in March and April, and they have a group of people that go and find the nests. They know where the nests are. The nests are always in the same place. The same couple goes back there every year. It's a given. And they oil the eggs, and if the egg floats in the water, they don't, because it's too late. That has already been, it's ready to be a little gosling, so they don't go there. But if it sinks, it's oiled, goes back in the nest, the mom sits on it, and maybe that year there aren't quite so many goslings that are born, because they have about 5 to 7 in every one of those nests. The other thing they do is they outreach to the public. And they say, don't feed the geese. If you give them corn, if you give them bread, if you give them carbohydrates, they poop twice as much. But also the other thing that happens is they get angel wings, which means their wings become deformed and they go like this. They cannot fly. It's a great disservice. So that's a part of their aim, is to keep them healthy and to keep them alive. And they live 20 years. We want them to live a long life. And they can't migrate. Once they were taken into this area where in Minnesota, where they found some to live and to breed them, they clipped their wings so that they couldn't teach their babies where to go, where to migrate. So that's why they're called resident geese. And we did that to them. So we want to help them now. So if any of you are interested in becoming a Geese Peace chapter, I intend to do that, and Susan has a notebook or a note paper there, and you can sign up. And sometime we will be doing a training. The St. Louis people are going to come up and train us, and so that we can keep track of these geese, the ones that we have left, and the whole area, not just here, but they feed in from all these other areas around. So we want to make sure that we have a healthy environment and a healthy population for the years to come. And we never have to go through this agony again. Because this has been really hard on this community. I mean, for all of you, it has. For the people that didn't come, that probably felt like this was going to be too much. I mean, it's hard. Because we love those geese. And we went out last week to count the geese, a number of us, and that whole area, that hill, was just filled with them. And they're goslings. And it was just, at that moment, did we know? No, we had no idea that in just a couple days that was going to be gone, erased. So help us to help them let's all help ourselves to heal. And I think we can make a big change in this whole community. Thank you.
Beth, did you want to do a song?
Well, I was just, transparency. I didn't know if you wanted to
If you are...
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity. I have not prepared anything. I didn't intend to say anything because it's very difficult for me. And I don't want to talk about the Geese because then I won't be able to continue and finish my sentence. Except that I have some of the feathers of the geese that when they were molting, just very few. But if anyone wants to take one just as a, I don't know, a gift from our friends, please do so. And what I wanted to say, I'm basically trying to be very brief, if my mind allows me. There are two things. One has to do with the way these kind of processes where government institutions, agencies work against the populace, their own citizens. The best way they have is to use propaganda and use euphemism. I mean, all these euphemisms that we have started actually with the psychologists who worked with the military to create this not desensitize people to the plight of others. So collateral damage was not part of our vocabulary. It was the military who created that. So now people, brown and black people elsewhere abroad, they are collateral damage. They are not people, okay? So, and then I don't think that all we have seen here maybe should make us more skeptical of government institutions. And and rely on ourselves, rely on the power that we have but sometimes don't believe in. And I want to just give one example about this supposedly what they call, charity harvest. People don't need charity. People need their rights.
Yes.
Their right to live decently. Okay, they don't need charity. That's a degradation of human rights. And secondly, harvest, where did they get this word? Harvest, we plant wheat, we plant corn, and we harvest them, right? But who had planted the geese? I don't know, the nature. How can we harvest them? Okay, so these are all part of the propaganda, euphemism that they use. And also, just connected to this is the fact that I contacted as many food banks that I was able to in Illinois, and talked with many people. And what I came away with was that most don't accept any of the geese that they want to offer. First of all, some have never heard of it, and some are very offended by that, by this whole idea. Especially, there is a place in Chicago that they really were just blown away. And those places that possibly accept meat. I cannot even say meat because I don't see animals as ever becoming meat. But you have to apply to them way ahead of time. They look at your application and you have to come up with all sorts of basically, I don't know, forms that you have filed so that they know that this has been done legally, etc., etc. So you need some time between these two actions. And what happened, that was actually by design. That's one of what I want to emphasize, that the Park District, Urbana Park District, and Illinois Department of Natural Resources, they plotted against these geese. They conspired together to make sure that we would not have time to save the geese. They could have issued the permit to kill the geese, you know, for several days at least, if not several weeks. What did they do? They did it on Friday. They issued the permit to the Park District on Friday. Why did they do that? They did it because they knew that we wouldn't be able to take any legal action on Saturday and Sunday, okay? And what they did, the early morning of Monday, they just massacred them all. It was all by design, okay? And this institution, they are like savages. I mean, when they call themselves natural resources, that doesn't mean they're resources for, they are resources for humans. You know, we have to accept that. Natural resources for the enjoyment of people. And all of them, almost all of them are hunters, okay? So they have no sympathy for geese. They have no compassion, right? So it's up to us to basically stand, first of all, for our own rights, to value life and to respect life of others, and take action and not trust those people at all. Not from now on. Even if somebody believed in them, that they may come around. I guess this was a very, very painful but important lesson to all of us.
My name is Beth, and at this point, I'd like to invite you to turn to someone from a social distance and just share some sort of memory that you had. So for me, one of my memories of the geese, which I'm very irritated about but also very grateful, is that they will cross Broadway. I used to live up Broadway. They will cross Broadway, and that means that you have to slow down in your car. And if you are a very busy person with very important things to do, nature is a real hindrance. It's a real problem. It's in your way. And so it was a reminder to me. Every time it happened, I'd be like, I got things to do. I got stuff to do and money to earn and blah, blah, blah. And the geese were like, actually, we're alive. And you've paved a lot of stuff. And you think that your agenda is bigger than ours. But actually, we have our own agenda, which is living. And so I really appreciated that reminder. So yeah, just to turn to somebody near you and just share a memory about that. And I think after that, Susan, will we go over?
Yeah. And if there's someone else who wants very much to speak, though, publicly, this could be a little bit of an opportunity. Ah, Cindy, I was wondering where you were. Okay, so before, could you now speak?
Certainly. Yeah, let's do that first. So one more public one, then we'll turn to each other, share some memories, and then we're going to go just to walk around, for those who are wanting to, just to give witness to the space, their home, that they're not even getting to be buried in or die in. Yeah, you'll be invited to do that. Bring, if you brought something to leave here for them, we can put them together here, or you can put it in a place that you feel is right.
I'm Cindy, and I live about half a block away, and I spend every morning with geese. They come up through the boneyard and come up into my yard. I've done that for about 5 years, and I would like to also, I mean, it was a blessing. They're a big part of my life, and
So it was especially painful. However, I'm also very, very fortunate because what few are left are coming. I don't think there's more than 25, but the ones that I see, every day it changed. First, the day it happened, there were only 5. There were 3 adults and 2 babies, and they seemed fractured. And then the next day was, and that was very brief, and then the next day was, I think, 22 babies and 1 big male. That's it. I think there were a couple of adults over to the side that day. And then, but they ran from me. And they never have done that ever. And so then I wanted to try to make them feel comfortable and happy as I could. And so let's see, and yesterday there came, actually Thursday, there were 8 babies by themselves, no male. There had been 22, and then it kind of went down to about 18. Yesterday there was 8 by themselves, and then let's see, I think I saw, that was it. And then that was Thursday, and then Friday I saw, I think around 12 with the adult. The day before there was no adult, and then this morning there were 16 with the 1 adult. I haven't seen any other adults since that first morning, and they were a little more relaxed today, and I gave them some special treats that they really seemed to enjoy, and so that was very uplifting. So I'm grateful that they're still in my life, and you all are welcome to come over. They just come and go. You just never know. They're usually there in the mornings. And a woman from a couple doors down, she's passed away now. She started feeding them originally. I didn't feed them in the beginning. I had bird feeders, which stuff fell down, and then ducks and geese came, and then so anyway. I also brought some carnations, white ones, because I felt that it reflects the purity of their hearts and spirits. And you all are welcome to take one as a memorial or toss the flower top in the lake or the whole thing, whatever you like. I also have some other feathers to share that I too collected over time. And I also have some other feathers that are splattered with red paint that I would like to place on the doorsteps on a regular basis at Tim Bartlett's. I have them with me today, and God, poor Derek, but I'm sorry, he's a casualty, maybe. We don't know how sincere he was. And so, anyway, I just want to give you an update mostly on the geese, because there are some, but I don't really think there's more than 25, because, thank you.
So now please do take a moment to turn to someone and tell them a geese memory, and then we'll just kind of, those who can or want to can migrate, over to there. And thank you so much for coming.
Are you going to say anything? Are you going to speak?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Not today. Okay.
This isn't just going to happen in Urbana.
Right.
USDA Wildlife Service that did the actual, what they call capture and euthanize, the killing, is going to do it in Champaign and Savoy. They're making the plans, and if there are large communities that have ponds, homeowners organizations can apply for these permits to exterminate geese. And I want to point out that someone I was with earlier today said out by the synagogue, the Cherry Hills area, geese have disappeared there, and they're in molt. They can't fly away. So I have this suspicion that they've done it in parts of Champaign already.
No, I just want to say on Windsor and Mattis and that subdivision, there used to be all these geese by the lake. I went by there, not one.
Okay, let's not create the big fear. But
No, this is not fear. I'm saying reality. That the fact that we're trying to create an organization that's going to work together to fight against these people means it's an ongoing struggle. I don't want you to be afraid of them. There's no reason to be afraid of them. We're not geese. We're humans, and we have legal rights to dissent and bring action in peaceful means, through the courts, through the elections. Let's re-elect 2 park board commissioners are up for re-election. Let's replace them with members of organizations that care about ecology, the environment, animals. We have a governor that can appoint a new head of IDNR with the approval of the Senate. We've already contacted our senator. We're trying to contact our U.S. senator about the federal law violations. You can do things. You can write letters. You can join organizations that work toward the defense of animals. There are many of them. Talk to Ilir about those organizations. Talk to Victoria, Susan, anyone in Friends of the Geese to get geese peace training. If you want to be a protector of rights and animals and humans, do so. Don't think it's over, that there's nothing you can do.
Good, thank you. Okay, a couple of minutes of talking with each other, just say hi or whatever, and then we'll
but
bring our...
specifically, a couple of minutes, please actually take a moment to think about what you appreciate and tell that to someone else as a memoriam of why we're here. That's a really important part. And then for action, make sure your name is on the